Alright guys, welcome back to the Rosie Rides channel for another video, and in this one we're going to be going over my personal experience with the Sram SX group set. This group set was on my Grand Canyon 7 that I got just about last year, probably about 8 months ago, and as you'll see, it is no longer on my bike. So, you know what that means? It's probably not going to be a great review. So I'll start with it right when I got it fresh out of the box. Originally, before this bike, the Grand Canyon 7, that the Sram SX Derailleur and Drivetrain altogether, Sram SX Drivetrain in total, came on, it was a Walmart bike. So this Drivetrain was a massive upgrade compared to the 3x7 that I was originally riding. With that said, however, the SRAM did not turn out as great as I thought it would be in the end. Fresh out of box, it was shifting like a dream. I couldn't imagine how good the range was on it, being able to climb up anything and then being able to maintain speeds while going on downhills as well. I was quite amazed with the performance, and the shifting was super smooth when comparing it to the 3x7. But with that said, as things continued and I continued to ride on the Drivetrain, and as I said earlier, this was my first mountain bike ever, so I was learning how to ride on it. I'm obviously taking spills and such on it, so it was taking some wear and tear. And I must say, final conclusion on this Drivetrain, it just doesn't have the durability that you need as an entry-level rider. If you're someone who's not taking those spills on a consistent basis, it will be a great Drivetrain for you. However, if you were taking those spills driver's side down, it's just not going to be for you. And a lot of the mechanics that I've talked with throughout this experience have agreed with me. So I've brought my bike to about 3 to 4 different mechanics. Like I said, I got into mountain biking about a year ago, so I'm still trying to find that type of mechanic that aligns with my price point, is sociable, enjoy going to see them when I need to, and just provides great service as well. So those 3 things I'm still trying to find, and I've finally found that with one of my mechanics. But that aside, every mechanic I've brought it to has all said the same thing.
What the fuck is this? This is garbage.
It's beautiful.
When they see this SRAM SX Derailleur or any SRAM SX Derailleur arrive in their shop, it's always the same thing. Kiss of the teeth, shake of their head. They're not happy to see this derailleur because it's always has consistent issues with it. It's always a trouble for them to get it dialed in proper, and it's because it doesn't have that durability. Any little hit to the derailleur is going to affect the shifting capacity, and it just doesn't have the durability that its competitors have in the same 12-speed category. So the shifting was a bit wonky to start the season off, and it was manageable though. It wasn't bad enough to justify upgrading or switching to a new derailleur. But after my first race of the season, this really put it through the test, and it was not shifting well. Didn't take any falls leading up to it, but during the race, I think it took one more fall, and it crapped out. It was shifting like a bucket of bolts, and it didn't sound great, and it wasn't performing great either. Ghost shifting, double shifting, it was tuned right. The derailleur hanger was straight. The mechanic checked, it was aligned. It was the derailleur itself. So as the derailleur crapped out, it was time to get a new one. I wanted to go with the SRAM GX, but I realized that to upgrade from the SRAM GX with the current NX system I was running, it wasn't as simply as getting a GX derailleur. I would have had to change the cassette, I would have had to change the hub that was in my bike, and then I would have had to change the trigger shifter as well. And with all those things considered, I was able to get a Shimano SLX 12-speed for roughly the same price, and that's the entire drivetrain, so including the crank arms as well. So it made a lot more sense that I could move to Shimano, the SLX, that was a little bit more reliable and I knew had that durability backed behind it, and that's what I ended up doing. And upon getting the Shimano SLX on my bike, I was able to see why the SRAM SX was not as reliable as the comparable Shimano one. So the SRAM SX, Shimano SLX is in that same category, same price point, Since having the SLX, I have took bigger crashes than I ever have when I had the Sram SX derailleur on, driver side down on top of things, yet it still held up great. And in this video I'm about to tie into, you'll see why this is. So looking at the Sram SX derailleur overhead, it protrudes out farther than the Shimano SLX by about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch wider. So with the Shimano SLX being more compact, more likely than not, when you fall, the first point of contact, if you fall driver's side down, will be the pedal, and it will stop the derailleur from taking that direct impact. But with the SRAM GX derailleur, when shifted into the lowest cog, it's protruding out, as I said earlier, about 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch more than the Shimano SLX. So even though the pedal still, in theory, should hit first, there's that 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch that the Shimano SX is sitting out more than the SLX, allowing it to make greater impact with the ground when falling driver's side down. So this is part of the reason why I believe that the SRAM GX isn't as durable as it is, not so much because of the components it's made out of, but how it's engineered. And I'm not an engineer, I'm not saying I'm an engineer, but this is just one thing I observed looking at the two derailleurs and their differences side by side. Also, I want to clarify, this video isn't me telling you don't buy the SRAM SX. It's a nightmare. This is me talking about my experience and how I've made out with it so far. Another thing I want to mention with the SRAM SX derailleur and drivetrain as a whole is the shifter. The shifter has jammed on me multiple times, and the only way to fix it is taking it apart in the 4 bolts and pulling the cable back into place. This happens a lot, and if you shift too hard, it's likely it will happen. There's not too much restriction when pushing up, so it's very easy to overshift, and even downshifting, I've noticed that this has caused jams before, and it's frustrating having to take your bike apart, and taking the shifter apart and having to fix it. And I could see this being a problem for someone who's maybe not confident or looking or fully comfortable taking their own bike components apart, having to bring it into a shop 3 or 4 times a season to get this fixed. Alright guys, and in wrapping up this video, if you guys like the content, leave a like down below, leave a comment if you've had experience with the SRAM SX derailleur. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly? Was it the best derailleur you've ever had? Let me know down below. I'm curious to see if my experience is like yours or to see how it differs. But my experience in wrapping up this video, the SRAM SX derailleur shifted great out of the box and is a good entry-level derailleur as far as performance goes. Where it falls short, however, is its durability, especially for someone who's learning how to ride. The SRAM SX derailleur is going to be a problem. When you're learning how to ride, you're going to be taking spills, especially if you're learning how to ride clipless. Multiply those spills you're taking tenfold, you're going to be falling a lot more, and it's going to be taking a lot of damage. If you're more experienced and you won't be spending as much time on the ground, I think the SRAM SX is a great option. Thanks for watching till the end, guys. I appreciate your support in growing the sport, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.